Hello, hi everyone. This is Harsimran, and welcome back to the podcast. It's been a break of 2 weeks, I guess, from the first episode, but thank you again for joining. Today, I have a very special guest with me, who is also a very dear friend of mine. We have spent some time together while we were studying in Calcutta during our MBA days, uh, and we have a lot of adventure stories together, good times, and not taking much
Hi
of your time now,
Harsimran, this
Mr.
has
Saurabh
been
Bhatia.
good and it has been a long time coming. We seeing face to face each other again, though on virtual. Yeah. So we have history together, as you said.
Yes,
Didn't forget those yeah.
we
Didn't
do.
forget those MBA days.
Yes,
Nobody actually can. Yeah. Being your roomie, yeah.
nobody
Being
actually
your
can.
roomie and then facing
Yeah,
situations together, tackling them, that gives a lot of perspective to our lives anyway. It does.
it
Yeah.
does.
That being said,
Right.
Harsimran did his MBA in HR, and I did my MBA in finance. So that is where I come from. So
Right.
we, I have
Yeah.
a very financial bent of mind. That being said, I work in PwC. uh, PwC as a
Hmm.
auditor and tax consultant for the US
Hmm.
market, and my expertise relating to economics and its peripheral branches are what I delve in and understand better and give financial advice to as well. So, yeah,
Hmm.
we can follow on from that. Harshi. We can carry on.
Right. So, keeping that in mind, your background, your education, I did pick the topic very specifically. That is, Indian middle class and its ideology, its philosophy towards investments. So, we have this scarcity mindset. We have this mindset of saving over spending. So, just wanted to, delve more into that. So we can start from the historical context. Why do you think, Mr. Adya, we have been such an economy that favors spending over favors saving over spending, and what
Yeah.
could be the reasons
So
behind
you
that?
have to understand, Harsimran, that for 200 years, India was governed for the benefit of others, not for the benefit of India. I'm talking out over here about the British Raj. So
Hmm.
you won't see this pattern before the British Raj. After the British Raj left India, you must understand that
Hmm.
the two wars, basically the World War One and World War Two, was fought on the coffers that India sent out to the European nations. So so, a lot of money
Hmm.
has actually gone away from India in fighting wars, and we did not receive that money back. So, what happened was India's growth stagnated
Hmm.
and we fell apart as a nation. So, we became a poster child of a
Hmm.
third world country. So, that impact on the middle class
Hmm.
has a very big bearing on our reality. So when we gained independence, and for the
Hmm.
uh, say a period of 5 to 6 decades, the Indian middle class tried to save up things because they never got the opportunity to save up. Like they never saw money as in. So when they started earning money, they
Hmm.
thought that it would be a good way to
Hmm.
uh, save up resources for a rainy day. This was the basic concept. And risk taking
Hmm.
is a bit still
Hmm.
averse in parts of India. Not all, but parts of India. The Indian middle class does not
Hmm.
like risk taking because of the philosophy what happened to them for a gradual sense of 200 years. All right. So the lived experiences, you don't
Hmm.
live for 200 years, I understand, but a generation, two generations thinks what being done sees through their parents and thus their experiences. So this is how we build in to a
Right.
mentality that has become true for now until now. See this pattern to be changing as well.
Right.
Yeah. So
Hmm.
introduction to your, yeah.
I mean, do you also think that? Yes, I mean that's a very well way to, I think, start off the topic. But I also wanted to, kind of delve into the instruments. Like there are certain instruments that the
Yeah.
middle class prefers over other. I'm talking about
Mhm.
gold. I'm talking about real estate and FDs. Do you think there is history in that also? Why we use these over the other
Yeah,
instruments
so
that are available in the
yeah,
market?
it comes back to that sentiment again. Like they want to save up. So for the unforeseen future, they do not want any
Hmm.
risk involved because they have seen over the years the Indian middle class that their money being perished away by other people. So they want the most
Hmm.
safest route so that they know at their time of
Hmm.
peril they will get their money back. So you think instinctively on your end that what will be the most safest way. Many
Hmm.
parts just buy gold,
Right.
all right, and then you have many people
Hmm.
investing in land. Gold has in gold is the natural currency as well as today or as well, because if you see countries, most of the countries in the world have a part gold reserves to build up
Hmm.
their currency value. So it also says that gold is a transmitter of value, inherent value in itself. And so
Hmm.
bank savings or fixed deposits, also that being said as an instrument, gives out a certain percentage of income to you back. So people
Hmm.
generally think that these are safe because you will get 100% of what you saved back to you, and you will also earn a very minimal amount of
Hmm.
interest whatever the bank says that you will earn. That is a
Hmm.
guaranteed income back to you. Okay. And people also do invest in land
Right.
because they understand the value of land will
Hmm.
also stay unimpacted over the period of time.
Right.
Keep
There is a general
appreciating.
sense that land will always keep appreciating, and they
Yeah,
have a sentimental attachment
yeah.
also to these
So
instruments,
when also a person, yeah, yeah, especially golden land.
especially gold
And
and land.
again, so if you delve into the situation, how people buy land and gold in India, you will see that these two industries are not the most compliant with tax purposes in India, because you also have to remember that
Hmm.
200-year-old slavery of the Indian economy and the Indian psyche is playing into the normal middle class psyche
Hmm.
that the government will
Hmm.
never be on its part. So, for the same
Right.
reasons, uh, the Indian psyche says, for what should I pay taxes? And there happens to be a major
Yeah.
disconnect when you transact in gold and land, because the paper value will say something and the real value which you actually go and buy will say something else because of tax rates or other
Right.
inherent causes because of the tax rates that has been created by the government. So there's a
Hmm.
unforgiving and unwanting necessary uh, demand by the people of India to the government that the government should listen to them.
Hmm.
But I think also out over here we should mention government does this through a slew of channels of calculations where they come up with rates. Not the most scientific, maybe, but most
Hmm.
of the calculations they have
Hmm.
to keep in mind the pie. and how they divide the pie among different expenses, and that is how they come up to each and every rate that they are prescribing to.
Oh, I think there was a glitch. I think I lost you in the middle. Okay, huh? You were talking about the government
Yeah,
and
the thing is, yeah, the tax rates are also happens to be collected in such a way, the government
yes.
calculates in such a way that their expenses, think of a basic pie, all right, or a pizza. So the pizza represents your
Hmm.
expenses, all right.
Hmm.
So the government instinctively calculates what should be your expenses, means the government's expenses, and they start
Hmm.
allocating ratios to make their income
Right.
so that they can afford their expenses with a certain amount of deficit built in, because
Right.
India is still a growing country. We will have deficits. It's normal for a growing country to have deficits.
Hmm.
Okay, so that is why we still
Hmm. Hmm.
have that uncommon ground between the civilian population and the government of India. Yeah, yeah. So,
Hmm. Hmm. Since we are talking about the government, I also wanted to touch upon, a topic that is the government's role in this whole, picture, the scenario of the philosophy towards investment, keeping middle class in mind. What role do you think they play, and what actions they have taken or they can take
yeah,
to
over
improve the
the years,
situation?
over the last 60 years, we have seen that the government have wanted to a my bap sarkar. You understand what I mean to say like that? My bap means
Hmm.
the government wanted
Yeah.
to stay in the normal people's life in each and every matter. I don't think that that is quite pragmatic, because
Hmm.
the government will not have that many people to govern each and every person's life individually.
Hmm.
It's impossible. It cannot be done, because when
Hmm.
you say, if you look at the
Right.
preamble of India, it basically says, "We, the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic." So the word
Hmm.
socialists means we
Hmm.
are thinking on the basis of
Hmm.
society and its people. Okay. But right now,
Yeah.
India is trying to be a bit of capitalist. Not totally, but trying. What does
Hmm.
capitalists say? We will favor whoever
Right.
has skill or the aptitude. All right.
Hmm.
So the Indian
Right.
government is trying to reduce its role from the normal lives of people and to be relevant in those
Hmm.
fields only where it should be there. That is, to make
Hmm.
laws and to see
Hmm.
that those laws are enforced by legislation, by force,
Yeah.
if necessary, and by legal means.
Right.
And if there are any
Hmm.
unforeseen situations, how to mitigate those situations. That is the role of the Indian government,
Hmm.
and that is what it should be. Mm.
Right. Yeah, I think we might be digressing a little from the
Yeah,
topic, but
yeah.
this could be a topic on its own. Government and its role
Mhm.
of the development of Indian economy. So coming back to our topic, I also
Mhm.
wanted to understand, the current trends. The Gen Z, as they say, their risk
Mhm.
appetite, their attitude towards investment, and what do you think about
Yeah.
that?
So
Um,
if we are having a frank and very frank discussion about this, we are talking about the 200-year-old slavery that we went through. Our fathers did not. Our fathers did not
mhm.
mention the oppression, or
Right.
our grandfathers did not ever mention the oppression that the Indians faced. But we are becoming louder by the
Hmm.
day. Okay. And that being said, our mentality is
Right.
also harking back to the mentality of the age old civilization that we
Hmm.
were. Okay. So we also see,
Hmm. Hmm.
if you analyze the trends from the COVID pandemic and onwards, people see that less
Hmm.
people are putting their money into savings fixed deposit accounts, and they are moving to mutual funds or
Hmm. Hmm.
into
Correct.
the securities market in direct connection. All right. And many people who do not have the
Hmm.
right aptitude are also investing into futures and options markets. All right. So we see this
Hmm.
trend changing very fast in India. And we also see that there are various
Hmm.
responses to this circumstances that they are building in, that these
Hmm.
changes are so fast and in a progression that the Securities and Exchange Board of
Hmm.
India is not finding an answer to how to cater to these sort of systematic changes.
Hmm.
We can see in the recent past,
Right.
not much. If you see, like, what was COVID,
Hmm.
2022, 2020. So
Yeah.
within
2020.
this period, there were a few
Yeah.
financial crashes, not crashes, but we can say there were a few instances where the
Hmm.
Indian stock market would have corrected by 20 to 25%. But we didn't see that correction because wherever
Hmm.
the foreign investors left India,
Hmm.
the Indian investors supplemented them, just moved
Hmm.
into their places, so that the
Right.
Indian stock market balanced out and moving
Hmm.
straight went on moving forward. But this was the first time in the last two
Hmm.
months that the Indian stock market saw a proper correction after the COVID crisis. That is that. Yeah,
Right.
please carry.
But yeah, sorry to cut you off, but also wanted to, quickly touch upon these growing fintechs, these startups like apps like Grow, Kite, Zerodha. Do you think they are also kind of leveraging this movement of openness to investment,
Yeah,
going
they
more towards
are. They are
equity, share
investing a
market?
lot in it, and they are making good profits out of it. They are seeing that the trend has changed, and there are a lot of companies in this space that are allowing this sort of movement. And that being
Hmm.
said, there are other apps as well that is also prescribing people to have a
Hmm.
balanced portfolio. And people are also doing that. They are actually moving away
Right.
from FDs and moving into spaces that the Indian economy was not, the Indian formal economy was not aware of. If you see an individual in
Hmm.
India,
Hmm.
his income might not be very big related to a normal individual of Europe, all right, or United States or any other country. But when
Hmm.
you combine or make a summation of the Indian
Hmm.
middle class, it's a force to be reckoned with.
Hmm. Hmm.
And its consumption,
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, the sheer volume,
yeah,
the
the
sheer
sheer
volume
volume is
is astounding.
astounding. So, if you see companies like Paytm, their shift in capital,
Hmm.
or Google Pay, how this whole transaction system came up
Hmm.
within a period of 1 year is
Hmm.
transformative for the Indian economy. And this has happened due
Hmm.
to the
Yeah.
participation of the Indian middle
Right.
class. That the whole section of society
Right.
has become white, totally white income. This is also
Yeah.
a good thing for the Indian economy, that this has happened, and
Hmm.
this the Indian economy sees a what we had a parallel economy in senses, we still do have that parallel economy, but the middle class is not participating in
Hmm.
it. It will either be rich people or very high net worth individuals that they are
Hmm.
participating in. Yeah.
Right. Speaking of impact, I also wanted to kind of come to the conclusion that where do you see this going? I mean, the openness to investments, the new instruments like, cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, and the Gen Z coming into the picture and being more, having a higher risk appetite. What do you see the impact, and where
Yeah,
do you
we
see the
will
Indian
just
economy go from here?
divide this part into two parts: Bitcoins and the impact of it. So, like, it is impacting in such a way
Right.
that the Indian stock market is inflating to its actual value. So, the
Hmm.
RBI and the SEBI
Hmm.
is actually putting in restrictions for the people who do not know stock market to have a higher limit of entry, so that to weed out the people who do not know what
Hmm.
they are doing. But I would
Hmm.
suggest the other way around, just to educate people. If they are into it, then they are making
Hmm.
a formal choice decision
Hmm.
to enter into it. All right, and
Right.
they will have their fingers burnt once or twice, or the third time as well. But after seeing their capital
Hmm.
erode for the first three, four, 5 times, they will
Hmm.
itself not participate in it. All right. So this is also a learning curve.
Hmm.
You can't put just barriers in front of it. We are seeing the government put barriers, but it is
Right.
also a new territory for the government. The government also has to think what it tries to do, and the government will go wrong, and we have to allow it space to
Hmm.
go wrong
Yeah.
and to come to a conclusion where it will be
Hmm.
good for both.
Hmm.
So, yeah. So that being said, so I think that the government should put less constraints and just be fair to the market, just to show
Hmm.
an open picture to all. Where does the
Hmm.
Indian stock market or the Indian
Hmm.
economy stand in that sense? So that whoever wants to leave the market, it's his informed,
Right.
or it's his or her informed decision, rather than not being
Hmm.
able to participate into that market. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that is the impact of what has happened. This ruling has just come out like 1 month back. It's not a
Hmm.
very old ruling. If you'll find it on the internet. So the guidelines of SEBI very well prescribe what are the limits the a person has to a person who wants to participate in the FNO section of the stock market has a few criterias, and those
Hmm.
criterias has to be met. Okay.
Hmm.
So to the second part of your question, that is Bitcoin.
Okay.
Bitcoin is a bit of a tricky issue because any sort of currency, so Bitcoin is a currency basically, and that is how it had been launched
Hmm.
as a currency. So basically, if you see any
Hmm.
currency, just to say the US dollar or the Indian rupee or the Bangladeshi taka or the
Hmm.
Turkish currency, whatever you pick up, lira, the Turkish lira, they all have an inherent value saying by the government and the Reserve Bank of that country that if a person is holding that note,
Hmm.
will be given its value in cents.
Hmm.
And how do you derive to that value?
Yeah.
Something called balance of payment of each country plays out over here, and the country's reserves.
Hmm.
That is how the value of the currency is derived at. You will see that the US slash Indian dollar, Indian rupee trading at a particular value. How is that value figured out? This is how that value is figured out. But for the bitcoins or any other cryptocurrencies,
Hmm.
how do you measure it? Because it does not has any inherent value. So what are the legalities behind it? If you
Hmm.
want to make a profit out of it, you are most welcome. But the legality is also still date is unclear, not just with India, but the governments around the world. They don't know how to bell
Hmm.
this cat, as the expression says. Yeah, yeah.
Right. I mean, and then again, this philosophy comes into the picture that, because you don't know, then you go to the savings kind of mindset again, that, I don't want to take risk. Even though you're a Gen Z, you're like, okay, I want to participate, but it's very volatile, it's very unpredictable. Some kind of, fall into it. Some still want to take a
Uh,
backseat and observe
you
how
will
this
see
plays out.
that there are two sorts of people out over here who want to participate into things
Hmm.
that do have legality. That being said, that is the stock market, and they will say, no, I will
Hmm.
not do the
Right.
bitcoins and the cryptocurrencies because they don't have legality. Meaning, if
Hmm. Hmm.
my
Hmm.
investments go down and I
Hmm.
think that I have a legal case to be won, I won't win
Hmm.
it because the legality won't stand
Hmm.
in favor of me.
Hmm.
Okay. And the other one
Yeah.
is screw it, I'll just invest in it and make money out of it. There are both sort of peoples. So
Yeah.
to cater to both of these ideas, governments around the world are sitting and discussing how to
Hmm.
put this into a frame. Not only India, you will see discussions on this
Hmm.
relating to with the US government when India talks to the Treasury Department on their behalf, on their end. So you will have endless
Yeah.
discussions. You, if you follow streams like Observer Research Foundation and other such platforms, you will see
Hmm.
even Vivekananda Society, you will see multiple discussions happening on the
Hmm.
track 2 and track 3s, even track 1s, how to tackle on these situations, and government officials deliberating in a
Hmm.
minute by minute pattern what has been said, what are our points, what are their point, what are the
Hmm.
what are the European
Hmm.
governments thinking on this? How are we responding to the requests by the
Hmm.
European governments so that everybody in the world is at a common place?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So this is how
Right.
cryptocurrencies is being tackled by the individual and also by the governments. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it is exciting. It's very tempting also, but yeah, let's see where it goes from here. And I think we did overshoot the time a bit, but our conversations have always been very
Yeah.
engaging, and you kind of lose track of time. But it was a pleasure to have you here, Mr. Adya, and always good to see you. And I might call you again on this podcast because you have such huge knowledge about anything. We can talk about a lot of topics endlessly, but then we are kind of short of time right
I
now.
would be delighted
Thank
to
you
be
again
back.
so much, Sadia.
Thank you for giving me this platform, and I would
Yeah, thank
gladly be back. Yeah.
you. Right. Okay. On that note, you have a good day,
Yeah.
and I
Same here.
will hopefully see
Bye.
you soon.